Are you thinking about moving to a Houston suburb and don't quite know if it's the right fit for you? Hi, my name is Aaron, and today I'm actually doing a little bit of a vlog style today and a follow-up to a previous video where I kind of go over, some of my thoughts about moving to a suburb. And today I'm actually doing like a pre-closing walkthrough for my client that's moving to the Richmond area from Dallas. And I kind of just wanted to hop on really quick and give you some thoughts. So let me jump back into it. My name is Aaron. I'm a realtor in the greater Houston area. Every week, I'm helping buyers relocate to and throughout the greater Houston area. And if you need to know anything about where to eat, sleep, live, play, I'm your guy. Hit me up morning, noon, or night. I'm here to help in any way that I can and match your lifestyle with where you want to live. And feel free to shoot me a call, give me a text, hit my DM, hit my social media, hit the comment section. I'm checking out all those comments, making sure that I get back to those as soon as possible. So feel free to hit me up if you're trying to relocate to or within the greater city of Houston and the suburbs. I'm your guy. So getting into it, I actually love the suburbs. And today we're in Richmond, which is one of my favorite suburbs. And it's kind of tied to a little bit of my upbringing. So I'm from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Talked about that before. And I'm born and raised in a part of town that is considered right now to be, one of the worst parts of Baton Rouge. So I'm 70805, baby. So to me, there wasn't much around me that was like a great opportunity that I saw, right? I'm one of the only people in our family to own a house still. And I had that example. Shout out to my mom and my dad for kind of laying that groundwork of showing me that home ownership was so important. But in my family, there aren't many people that own houses. So jumping back to why I actually love the Richmond area so much is because my aunt that actually moved from Baton Rouge to Texas, she was in the oil and gas field, has done super well for herself. She has this really amazing mansion in Richmond, and she bought it a really long time ago. And so to me, it was this sense of community and grandness and man, you've made it, you're really doing it. It had lakes and walking trails, and there was a community where the houses were similar size, which was something that I had never been exposed to. Even in my neighborhood that I was growing up, there were houses that looked a little bit rattier than ours. And there will always be complexes within my friend group just because we were seen as the rich kids or whatever, right? So there was always something going on with it. And when I actually saw my aunt's house in Richmond, I was like, man, I want to move to Houston, because at that point in time, I thought everything was Houston and Houston was just humongous. But I was just like, man, I want to get to Houston and have a big old house like that, right? So one of the reasons why many people choose to pick a suburb like a Richmond or like a Katy or a Woodlands or any of those suburbs that are amazing around the city of Houston is because you get this feel of community and grandness and safety that you don't necessarily get everywhere else. And look like this, right behind me, we'll go check it out. Behind me, literally right off of this lake, and this is something that you can't get in the city, but literally off the back of this house, my client is going to get a chance to wake up every morning and just have this peace and serenity in her backyard. And it's her own little personal piece of heaven. That's her lake. They have walking trails and all that stuff behind. All of your neighbors' houses are taken care of and well maintained. Everybody's grass is cut. Everything is great, And it's just a different vibe that you get when you come out to the suburbs. And it's not comparable in the city of Houston. I'm a city boy. I love being in the city, but there's things that come with being in the city. And one of those things, kind of piggybacking off the first one, is that sense of community. Right now, and I paid a pretty nice amount for our house. We got in early, but we're in what's called a transition or revitalizing our gentrifying area in North Houston. It's the Independence Heights. We got in at a great value. We got in at $260. Right now, the going rate up there is between $325 and $360. So within a short almost year and a half, we have seen such a huge boom in value in versus when we got in, which is great for us. But my wife and I were willing to sacrifice in the short term to get the long-term goal of having something that is worth way more than what we bought it for, because we saw the vision that is coming for that part of town. But like so many parts of the city of Houston, there's no zoning. So you could be somewhere where you pay substantially more than that. I have a client right now that's going to be paying nearly $500,000 to be in the Galleria, and right across the street from them, they just opened up like a strip club. So there's things like that, right, that you just can't really control when you're dealing with the city of Houston. And many of the people that actually flock to the suburbs want this sense of order and niceness, right, and cleanliness that comes with being in the burbs, and I can't blame them. This is gorgeous. Like, one of the things that has been kind of like, I guess, highlighted for me during this pandemic is that so much of our sanity comes from the ability to like get out of our house and get out of our comfort zone and just feel the earth and feel the wind behind us and just feel like we're not doing and living the same day. And land just comes at such a high premium in the greater Houston area that not many people have yards, right? If you're living in like a up and coming area in Houston, so we're talking third ward, we're talking East Downtown, we're talking Independence Heights, we're talking some of these revitalized areas in Spring Branch, we're talking Galleria revitalized areas. You're not getting a yard, no matter how much you're paying, right? You might get a little bit of a piece to just enough to say that you got grass to now weed eat or cut, but it's not enough to have an experience like that. Like, what I would pay to have this in my backyard, I don't even know what I would pay at this point, but it would just be so much more. I would change for this in a heartbeat, just because I can't get this in the city. Now, we got lucky. We actually got in a place where there's a nice park, and we're in between a nice park and an actual like really like high dollar neighborhood. So we kind of have forced a situation where we feel more secure, just because we're willing to just get in our car and go to the bayou or go to that neighborhood and take a walk, just so we feel like we're not doing the same thing over and over and over again. But it has been a killer for us because my daughter absolutely loves being outside, and all we have right now is our driveway and the pebbles in my backyard. This is probably the size of my backyard right now. It's just a couple feet off of my property line. So you get so much community, and that it doesn't matter where you're going, right? We're talking Spring, we're talking the Woodlands, we're talking Katy, we're talking Cinco Ranch, which is just north of here, we're talking Rosenberg. All of those places kind of give you a sense of security, that you're somewhere safe and that it's cool to be, and you don't mind walking out in your neighborhood. There's running paths and all just kind of things that you can do activity-wise in your home that I will never have in the city of Houston without traveling somewhere to get it. And that's the trade-off that I get a lot. And it's hard to say. There are some neighborhoods where you can kind of get a sense of community, but it's very few and far in between. It's hard to come by, especially at a decent price compared to being in the suburbs. The next thing that really draws people out to the suburbs is the schools. Naturally, schools, the property values are more stable. You're paying a little bit higher dollar to be out here. Entry price out here is $230,000 to $250,000 to $300,000. So taxing on that, you're gonna get better schools. That's just kind of the nature of the beast of being out here, right? So that's another decision that you kind of have to make. Like right now, my wife and I, we're in the Independence Heights area. but we're tied to a C, B rated school. So with our educational background, and my wife was actually a teacher several years ago for grade school. So we're actually in a good spot, and we feel comfortable with the schools that we're tied to on our house. But many people that have bought in that area, if they decide to have kids, are gonna have to have a different conversation with themselves, where people that go to the suburbs, not only do you get the yard, not only do you get the HOA that makes sure that things are maintained, not only do you get the sense of community, but you also get, on average, you also get a much better school for public schools, so you don't have to think about paying for school. Now, I'm new to the parenthood game. My daughter just turned 1. And so we got some time for schools and daycares, and me and my wife are both in real estate, so we can kind of do daycare and all that stuff right now anyway. But when it's time for school, we don't have to worry about that, but most people that buy in those transitioning areas have to worry about that. Now, Houston, from what I've seen briefly, like I said, we just had our baby. There's kind of like a lottery system where you can enter a portal and maybe get like your top 3 or 5 selections to see what kind of school you can get in, and then, you know, it's weighted on based on like where you live and kind of like your income and stuff like that. But out here, you just don't have to think about that, right? Another thing, kind of playing on that sense of just like safety and community, there's things you just don't have to think about out here as much. Like, we paid a nice amount of money for our home, and on I would say at least a weekly basis, there's gunshots that I hear. You're not worrying about that out in these suburbs, right? Now, no place is just happy-go-lucky, rainbows and sunshine every time, every day. But on a day-to-day basis, you're not thinking about being robbed out here in Richmond or out here in Katy or out there in the Woodlands. You're not thinking about that kind of stuff. Where on a day-to-day basis, I'm kind of more tense and more on guard, just because if you look at my Ring app and see gunshots here, robbery here, break-in over here, something was stolen from my garage here, like those things are very present at such a high rate in the city. And there's really no way around it. There's no really rhyme or reason. You're mixing so many different types of people and different socioeconomic people in a small footprint that there's gonna be situations where the haves and the have-nots of that part in town. And that sounds terrible, but there's gonna be so many situations where people that are less fortunate, that need help, need assistance, and that's their way of getting it, they're gonna get it, right? And that's just kind of what you deal with, where it would be a little bit more hard-pressed to find someone that first off is gonna drive 50 minutes away from the city to rob you, right? So the issues that you would have out here are likely gonna be neighbor to neighbor. Maybe, you know, y'all don't see eye to eye on where you can park your car, or maybe you don't see eye to eye on political beliefs or whatever. It's gonna typically be neighbor to neighbor, whereas in the city, you're just on guard and you're just kind of nervous. You never know what can happen at any time. And so I think the trade-off is all about lifestyle. Like I keep coming back to, and if you checked out any of my videos, everything is all about lifestyle, because there is a huge trade-off with being in any of the suburbs in the greater Houston area. And that is the fact that you don't live in Houston. So if you came and you wanted to be a part of the culture, and you wanted to be a part of, you know, being around so much diversity, and you want to be at all the events, if you're not prepared to go and drive 45 minutes, like this was a 45-minute drive with zero traffic from my house, just north of the Loop, to Richmond. And it's one of the reasons why, even though this is my favorite aunt that lives out in the Richmond area, I only see her once or twice a year, is because it's like an hour just to get to her house. You know, you can't really drink, you can't really have fun, you can't, you know, you get there and you basically have to turn back around, especially with my daughter's sleep schedule now. So it's just one of those things where you are committing to commuting from your city to the city of Houston. And if it's gonna be hard to kind of get the best of both worlds, get the good schools, get the sense of community, get the sense of safety, and also be close to Houston. That's gonna be damn near impossible. And so the biggest takeaway from all of this, in my opinion, is what is your lifestyle like? Are you a runner? Are you a fisher? Are you a kayaker? Are you into being in your community and into the events that communities can hold through their HOA? Are you into those kind of things? If you are, I think the suburb will be a good fit for you. If you don't necessarily need the schools, you don't necessarily need to be or feel like you're a part of such a tight-knit community where things are already established and you're not necessarily as nervous or worrying about the transition of things, then I would say maybe the city is more for you. But it all really comes back and falls back on your lifestyle and kind of what you're trying to do with your stay and your stint in the greater Houston area. So pluses and minuses all around, anywhere you live, any city, any state. I personally love the suburbs, but there's a reason behind it, right? I think when we first moved here, we moved into an apartment in the suburbs and we were young. We were like 20, 26. And I feel like it slowed us down so much from experiencing what Houston could be so great at, which is the diversity and the culture and the events and the things that come here. We didn't really go to anything the first year or so until we moved into Midtown, and we're like, man, that's a nice bar. Man, that's a nice restaurant. Man, that's a nice museum. Just things that we didn't see for years. And the suburb kind of slowed us down because the commute was so bad. You don't want to work 50, 60-hour work week and drive 10 to 15 hours a week just to commute back and forth, from your home, and then have to go back to the city, to the mall and all that stuff, right? So it's all about lifestyle, and it's all about what you choose to be most important to you. And for us right now, we're a combo. I think we're trying to work something out and see what we can do, because we love where we are, but we know that there's some shortcomings to being in the city. If you got any questions at all, feel free to shoot me a text, give me a call, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Every week I'm doing videos like this, kind of giving you a rundown, walkthroughs of my personal faves, my thoughts on an area, my thoughts on a particular topic. If you have any questions at all, feel free to shoot me a text, give me a call, hit my social media, hit that comment section, hit the subscribe and the notification bell. Like I said, I'm doing these videos every week. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you have a great day.